This is the crux of the message, that Jesus blesses not the self-satisfied, but the spiritually hungry.
Today's reading is from Matthew 5, verses 1 to 12. And we're going to do something a little bit different today, where I'm going to read the blessed are the poor in spirit part, and then you guys will read, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, and we'll keep going through. So I'll read the blessed line, and then you guys will read the following line. So it's up on the screen. Awesome. So now when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach them. He said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit. For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn. For they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek. For they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. For they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful. For they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart. For they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers. For they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness. For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you."
Thank you, Sarah. As I said before, my name is Matt. It's an absolute privilege to share with you today. I want to start by testing out a hypothesis that I have, that I've been formulating in my brain. It's around males in their 30s, and I have to put my hand up. I am one in this category. If you know any male in their 30s, life can sometimes get a little bit busier. And so I've seen that many males formulate, they don't have many hobbies. They almost have one hobby that almost becomes almost their whole personality, almost a bit of an obsession. And I think that all of these hobbies or obsessions come into 5 categories. And maybe they've got slight variations, so I'm going to test them out. But I think almost all males fall into these 5 categories. And maybe you need a picture, maybe a male you know in their 30s to work this out. The first one is that they get into barbecuing and smoked meats. They love a good rub. My brother is one of these. He's now into brisket. He's like, come around. I've spent hours preparing this nice tender brisket. I'm happy to reap the rewards of it, but he puts in all the hard work. Second one is golf. Maybe athleticism is slightly on the decline, and so rather take up a sport that involves a little bit more walking around and hitting a ball around while having a bit of a chat. And I'm sort of underplaying what golf is, if there's any golf enthusiasts out here today. Our next one is, it can be a few different things, but maybe brewing your own beer, or maybe it's a bit of a coffee enthusiast or wine, that sort of the drinks, beverage. Take a real, I'm not just saying interest, but like everything becomes about it. It's all the fine minerals and the fine things that you add to it. My other brother-in-law's into this, and he tells me about all the different minerals, and I'm like, mate, this is going way over my head. If it tastes good, I'm happy with it. Next one is start a podcast. All of a sudden you reach the age of 30, and obviously you've got so much wisdom that people would love to hear about. And so maybe it's a niche interest on World War II history. Maybe it's on fantasy football. I don't know what it is, but I've got a brother-in-law. I know many people in all these categories that has suddenly thought, I know a lot about football. I'm going to start my own podcast, and that's what it's going to look like. The last category I've got is running. All of a sudden, you get into running, whether it looks like park run, but then it very quickly reaches marathons, and that's just the thing. The word marathon sticks out. If you know me, you would very quickly identify which one I've found myself in, and that is running. I started out doing park runs. The funny thing is I didn't even like running when I was in my teens. I didn't like running when I was in my 20s, but yeah, someone invited me out to park run, started getting a little bit interested in it, and then Mark Elford, of all people, stood up here and said, "Who here has run a marathon?" It was just deadly quiet. No one put their hand up. And I was like, next time someone asks that, I'm going to be able to put my hand up. Maybe that was a little bit of my ego going, but maybe we'll just put it, has anyone here run a marathon? Anyone here? Yes! Can we give Ian a round of applause? Fantastic, Ian. Next time I preach and I ask that question, there'll be more hands that'll be raised. Who knows? Someone might be inspired. But that's been my life recently. I've got friends, we talk about running, we do running, we go on holidays where we do a run. It's become a little bit of an obsession. One thing I love about running though is what you get to eat after, because you work up this huge appetite. You're do a marathon, running 3 hours plus. And I remember one time I was doing the Melbourne Marathon and I finished, and boy was I hungry. Firstly, I needed some Powerade and water to get my fluids going again. But after that, I was really hungry. The problem was I didn't bring any food to the finish line. We then were walking around trying to get an Uber back to the hotel or Uber somewhere to get lunch, but there were so many people around, couldn't get. I'm walking, I'm sort of hobbling around a little bit. I'm just thinking about food, and we get back to the hotel finally after getting an Uber, and I order a pizza. And we might have ordered a bit more than one pizza, and I just ate and ate and ate, and oh boy, I was satisfied. I don't think I've ever eaten more in my life. I think sometimes I run it just so I can eat a little bit more. I don't know if that's healthy, but that's me. I wonder, can you remember a time that you were really hungry? Hopefully it's not right now, because you're not going to really listen much to what I'm saying. But when it comes to hunger, I think we can have deep memories. We remember times that we were hungry, or we have very strong emotions when it comes to hunger. Maybe you, or maybe you're sitting next to someone that you might give a little nudge, gets a little bit hangry. And that means they get a little bit angry when they're hungry. And therefore, they sort of act a little bit of a different person, a little bit snappier. And you've got to be careful when you work with them, because if you ask them if they're hungry, they might just snap at you and go, you're just saying, you've got to almost give them the food and just sort of leave them to be and just to replenish, and then they become back to their normal self. It's almost like this. When you're hungry, there's like a desire that nothing else matters apart from getting that food that will satisfy you. The thing is, I don't think it's just around physical food. I remember I had a football coach, and he would, before the game, he'd rev us up. And one time, I was only in primary school, he's asking this question. He's like, boys, are you hungry? And as the literal boys go, I'm like, no, not really. I had 2 things of toast. I had some cereal. He's like, no, I'm not talking about that. Are you hungry for the ball today? You got to be hungry, desire that ball, get that ball first. There's a lot of things that we can be hungry for. I think I definitely look around, especially in our culture today. We have a hunger for approval or status. Whether that's being recognized by others, whether it's friends, having the right friendship group. If you're in school, it's getting the right grades, to be seen, to be known. Maybe for your parents, maybe for others. Maybe it's getting the right job, that promotion, or just people seeing that you've made it. Things like social media can almost highlight this even more. Another one is comfort. We have a hunger for comfort. Our lives are so much directed around comfort. Getting food, whether it's pleasure. I was traveling recently, and you know how you've got cars with like warm seats? Yeah, that's nice. Maybe a little bit overs. But then I was traveling, there was toilets that had, the toilet seats were warm. You sit down, I'm like, no, this is too far. We have gone too far. We are craving, I do not need a warmed toilet seat to go to the toilet. Even you look around, and I think almost like our lives are directed around it. You see like so many, you drive down South Road, drive down Marion Road, there's all these storage places popping up. It's like people don't have enough space to store all this stuff because they need all this stuff. And I think some of it is around to have comfort in their lives. Another one is control. We hunger for control. We want to make our lives feel like we're in control. So there's that saying that you control your destiny, but I don't know if that's always true. I don't know if that rainfall, my house was leaking a little bit because the rain was pouring down so hard yesterday. We just look at the algae bloom and people are going, what's going on? We don't have control. It takes something like that to realize we do not have control. And I think we have deep cravings for some of these things, but I don't think they fully satisfy us. I wonder today, is your soul hungry? Is your heart thirsty? Are you restless? Do you feel an insatiable longing for something and something more? C.S. Lewis, our writer of Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, says this a little bit more bluntly. He says that we are half-hearted creatures falling around with drink and sex and ambition when infinite joy is offered us. like an ignorant child who wants to continue on making mud pies in a slum because he cannot imagine what is meant by the offer of a holiday at the sea. We are too far easily pleased. I think Jesus has a lot of wisdom when it comes to this and what he can share about this. So if you're joining with us for the first time, or maybe the first time in a while, we're week 4 into a series on the Beatitudes that we just read out just before. They're not a list of things that we need to do, but rather an announcement of who is blessed in God's kingdom. It's a bit different to the norms of that day, and I think it's a bit different to the norms of our day. I think these words from Jesus are so important and so much we can take from them. So the one that I'm covering today is, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. People in Jesus' day knew what it was to be hungry and thirsty. I think in our modern lives, our conditions of life, a few of us not many of us know what it is to be truly hungry and thirsty. I used to think it was not getting dinner on time. I'm from a family that had dinner at like 6 o'clock. Anyone here from an early dinner family, like 5:36? Anyone like a good early dinner? Yeah, that's me and my family growing up. But when I was dating my wife, we would go to her family on Wednesday night dinners. She's from a late dinner family, like 7:30, 8 o'clock, sometimes even later. And that's what I thought was true hunger, when having to wait all those hours. It's like 8:15. I'm like curled up on the couch. I'm like, please, hope dinner's coming soon. My solution for this was to maybe have a snack before, or sometimes cheekily have first dinner and then have second dinner a little bit later on. But people back in Jesus' day did not have the same access to food and storage that we do. They would often have one meal a day, maybe even have meat maybe just once a week. They truly knew what it was to be hungry. In the same way, they didn't have taps. They didn't have the same access to water. They couldn't just turn on a tap and water would flow out. They would need to take a good long walk to a well or something like that to get water. Yet we whinge when we don't have our pure tap filtered or bottled water. I'm going to be unpopular here, but I think filtered water or bottled water is a scam. I can't taste the difference. I don't know if I'm in the minority, but I'm more than happy to have the trimellohexanes that Pure Tap ad says. That's so good. Maybe you can argue with me later if you're really passionate about filtered water. But people back then knew what it was to be truly thirsty. The thing is, though, I think Jesus is not talking about a blessing for those who are physically hungry and thirsty, but those that are hungry and thirsty for righteousness. Righteousness is a rich, full word that is used in the Bible that has many layers to it. That when I started to look into it, I continued to find more and more. And so I'll do my very best to condense to a definition around what righteousness is and what Jesus is actually meaning in this. Because I don't think it's that common in our vocabulary. We don't use it that often. And some people I remember hearing someone say it's like a God word. Like it's something that I wouldn't use in everyday language unless I was a Christian. And I think it's easy for us to jump to righteousness. Our first thought is doing the right thing or following the rules. And we see this just a little bit later on from what we read today in Matthew 5:20, that the leaders of Jesus' day missed the mark on what righteousness was. Because it says, this is what Jesus said, "For I tell you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven." That these teachers of the law, these Pharisees, were so focused on the law instead of actually what the law was for, what it represented. The Greek word for righteousness is dikaiosune. Dikaiosune. I think that's how you pronounce it. Translations of this word wouldn't just be, in some things, they're not just righteousness, but also righteousness and justice. Pastor John Tyson says righteousness is being right with God and God making things right in the world. That righteousness incorporates both personal holiness and justice for the world. Yet too often we think we need to choose one or the other, that they're mutually exclusive. If we're too focused on personal holiness and ourselves, we forget about God's vision for the world. When we're too focused on justice and justice in itself, we forget about what it's all about and who is our king and who we are serving and what justice is for. So therefore, what does righteousness look like? Well, the Bible Project, maybe you've seen some of those videos online or on YouTube. They say that we act with righteousness when we live justly, honestly, faithfully to God's teaching. That Jesus' teaching not only talks about prayer, fasting, but also giving to the poor, forgiveness, and loving your enemies. To live this way is to do right by God. Right relationship with God and right living that flows from it. I do need to be clear, though, that we can't be declared righteous, made right by God by our own works, by the things that we do. In Romans 5:19, it says, "For just as through the disobedience of the one man, the many were made sinners, so also through the obedience of the one man, the many were made righteous." That sin into the world, we see the impact of sin. We see how it separates us from God, but rather through what Jesus did on the cross, that we can be made righteous. And being made righteous it's a gift from God received by putting faith and trust in Him. It's a gift from God, not what we have earned. So in the same way food and water are essentials, so is right relationship. Jesus is saying, allow your perspective of the world to be turned upside down and yearn for a new way of living and relating. This is what is important, and those who will be blessed. This is the crux of the message, that Jesus blesses not the self-satisfied, but the spiritually hungry. Not those who seek self-fulfillment, those who look to gain approval of others or power, but rather those that are hungering for right relationship with God and God making things right in the world. In the Beatitudes, Jesus is turning the world upside down. The happy are not the full, but rather the empty who long for God to fill them. That hunger means desire and dependence. You can live without success, you can live without status and comfort, but you can't live without food and water. Likewise, the soul can't live without righteousness. Psalm 42:1 says, "As the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you, my God." Blaise Pascal describes our unrest as the God-shaped vacuum in the human heart that only God can fill. Try as we might, we can't fill a created-sized vacuum with created things. Therefore, I think it's good to examine our own hearts. Am I hungering for the right things? Because I think there can be some things that can get in the way of our appetite for righteousness. Snacking can get in the way of appetite. I'm an expert snacker. I love a good snack in between meals. Nothing better than going to the pantry, getting a little snack. And I think, unfortunately, I realise I've got now an 18-month-year-old son, and he has definitely inherited this, and he loves his snacks. He's always whacking on the fridge, fruit, because he knows that the blueberries are in the fruit. He's just tall enough now that he can get on his tippy toes and open up the pantry. So annoying, no, you need to get a lock for that. Because the other day, just before dinner, I didn't realise he'd reached up, he'd gone into the pantry, grabbed a loaf of bread, made a mess, got out a bit of bread and was just munching on it when I found him. And you know what the issue was? Dinner was 40 minutes later on. Guess what happened? Didn't eat his dinner because he had been snacking. I think that's like us, though. I think we can suppress our appetite for righteousness with snacking on culture and the world. I could name a bunch of things that we snack on or fill ourselves on instead of the things of God. And I'll go through just a few. I think one is distraction. We are so distracted. There's so many things going on in life. There's so much content that we're consuming. We've always got, well, for some of us, we've always got a screen in front of us that's getting in the way of interacting with others or with God. There's so many things that we can get distracted by. We're never bored because we always just flip out a phone or do something else, and that is where we get distracted. In the same way, we're always busy. When I talk to people, hey, how you going? Yeah, good, but I'm just so busy. I even talk to people in retirement. It's not like it's any different for them. I talk to them and they go, yeah, retirement. I've never been busier. I'm like, it's just a thing that we always say and always live out. It's almost like a badge of honor that we carry with ourselves. I'm a busy person, which is, it's not a bad thing. It's good to be productive. It's good to do things. But I think sometimes we let that consume us, that we always have to be busy and we can't not be busy. Another one is junk food. I realize KFC. I like KFC. I like the taste of it, but it never leaves me feeling good. I don't eat it that much. And I realize as I go through my message, I've talked a lot about food. And maybe next week I'll talk about gluttony or something. But when I eat KFC, it tastes really good, but afterwards it makes you feel really bad. And I think that's a bit like sin. Sin is satisfying a God-given desire in an illegitimate way. It tastes good, it's pleasurable in the moment, but it leaves us feeling unsatisfied. Another thing we can snack on is outrage. And mate, this is probably not one you probably think of, but I can definitely see this, especially in our culture at the moment. Almost going, at least I'm not like that other person. Almost having that, I don't know if it's self-righteousness, but like that morality, that at least my morality is better than that other person. We look to win arguments with other people and almost look to dehumanize other people. And we go, at least I'm not like that other person. I could go on and on and on. Approval, comfort, control, the stuff I talked about before. We snack on so many things that suppresses our appetite for righteousness. I think another thing that can get in the way is our worry. Our worry for life can feed into this. I think that's why in this same dialogue that Jesus is sharing, he shares around worry. He talks about instead of worrying can't add a single hour to your life. Instead, to redirect our worry to something, and I would say someone. Instead of worrying about the worries and the stress of life, the things like I've talked about before, approval, comfort, control. In Matthew 6:33, he says, "But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all of these will be added to you." So what then is the promise for those who hunger and thirst for righteousness? It says that they will be filled, or other translations say satisfied. The Greek word means completely full, wanting no more. You hear this in Jesus' words to the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman. He offers living water. It says, whoever drinks this water, he offers this water to this woman. Whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give them will become in them a spring of water welling up to eternal life. In John 6, Jesus declares that I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. This isn't a temporary fill-up. It's an ongoing satisfaction that deepens as we seek him. The more we taste God's righteousness, the more we want it more and are more deeply satisfied. And it points to an eternal fulfillment or satisfaction in eternity with him. So I want to say to you today, what are you hungry for? Seek righteousness and find satisfaction like no other. Because blessing for those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. So I'd like to invite up the team now, but we're going to, just before we sing this song, I'd just love just to give you an opportunity to respond. And I think sometimes when we hear a message, it's good to actually physically respond. And maybe you're feeling prompted in this space. I'm just going to make a bit of space at the front that if you would just like to come and receive prayer, myself, Naomi, Sarah, and others would love to pray for you. Because maybe for you, maybe your soul is feeling hungry. Maybe your heart is thirsty. Maybe you've never known this satisfaction that is found in a relationship with God before. We'd love to pray for you. So we're gonna sing right now, and if that's you, I really encourage you to get out of your seat and come down and receive prayer. Or if you want, find someone next to you and ask for prayer. I know for myself, every time that I have the courage to get out of my seat or ask someone else to pray for me, I never regret it. The only time that I regret it is when I don't actually act on that feeling, that God's stirring in my heart with that. So I encourage you today, if you're feeling hungry, thirsty, you want to be encouraged today, seek out prayer, whether that's coming down the front or ask someone next to you. Let's sing.